Hello, everyone, and welcome to Plymouthy Guide. This is video 9 in our Excel beginner series, and this video is going to cover tables. If you want to follow along, you can go ahead and open up a blank workbook and get yourself a small data set like the one that I've got shown here. Let me see here. We've got 15 rows and 3 columns of uh, first name, last name, and a region. And then I've got monthly dates running out here for 13 months. And then I've simply put random information in the middle, ranging from, I think, 8 to 49, just random numbers in here. And this is just to simply represent, say, a very basic sales table. Okay, so to get into Excel tables, Excel tables are extremely important when it comes to organizing information and ensuring that fidelity is maintained from column to column and row to row in our data set. The way that we can um, exemplify this is if we started a new row here, maybe we put somebody in the Northeast region, and this person's name will be John Doe. And we can just simply start to give this person some random information, or we can even rand between, and we can say 8 comma 49. This, of course, is one of my favorite go-to examples or formulas for setting an example. And then to get rid of the formula, I'll simply copy and then I'll paste values. The paste 1, 2, 3. So now here we are, static numbers. Okay, great. And then, you know what? I'm going to get rid of this last month. I'm going to say average monthly sales, something to that effect. And so here I'm going to write an average formula, starting with equals av, and there's my average there. Double click, and then I'm just going to select this whole row. And then I'm going to get my drag handle down, or my fill handle, and I'm going to pull that down to the bottom. Now I've got way too many characters past the decimal showing, so I'm going to shrink that up by decreasing the decimal. Perfect. Okay, and let's just make this top one bold. Okay, good. Love it. So when we add new information, any column that has formulas in it, or any cell that has formulas in it, and we can go ahead and make one more. We'll call it total sales. Total annual sales. we go. All right, so we've got data here. We have static numbers. We have a couple columns with formula in it. And every time we add a new row, the formula will not carry down. And so we'll have to select the formulas and copy and paste formula, or we'll have to drag it down. Um, we'll have to get it on these new rows in some fashion. We could, of course, just have formulas existing in the cells waiting, but this is this is undesirable for a couple reasons. One, it looks like garbage, and two, um, your table of information may grow beyond um, the cells that you have designated with formulas in it, and you may not catch it. So it creates a variable in which we can um, induce an error, and we don't want that. So we can also, let's see, we could take this and we can maybe gray out the first row, and then this one we can make maybe just off white, and maybe this one's just off white, and so is this one. And then maybe we start to get our act together and we'll select multiple rows at the same time by holding down the control button. And okay, we're formatting. We're formatting into something that starts to uh, resemble a table. And then maybe we realize that we need to insert somebody here. And so we'll do that. But now our formatting's all messed up. And so now we have to redo our formatting. And it just ends up being a mess when it comes to keeping everything straight and organized and looking professional. So, if you have a small data set, for example, like this, maybe just a normal table range is appropriate. And rectifying and fixing a couple issues is not a big deal. But oftentimes tables of information are not this small. They're many, many columns wide and thousands or tens or hundreds of thousands of rows long. And so we need a way for like the table to manage itself. And Excel provides a great resource for that. And so, and that's called a table. So the first thing we want to do to get our information into a table is, of course, we'll select the information, and then we can go up here in our Home tab above the ribbon, and we can format as table. Right, and so here we'll select the one that we like. Where is the data for your table? And it should show the range that we have selected, B2 to R18. Yes, that's correct. And does my table have headers? Yes, it does. So that's checked. Okay. And so now we've created a table. So that's perhaps the longest way to create a table. Right? I'm going to go ahead and undo, and uh, the next quickest way is to select our data and insert table. Yes. And this is arguably perhaps the same amount of clicks. Um, but that's another way that you can take a set of information and turn it into a table. It's the same table. Table's a table in Excel. So whether you go from this option here in the ribbon, or whether you go insert table, or I'll back out again here. Here we are with just our basic, and not to confuse people, let me go ahead and get rid of this kind of faux formatting here. Okay, this is our basic data set here. I can select the information and I can control T, and there's my table. Um, this is undoubtedly the fastest way to take a set of information and transform it into a table. And then, of course, once you've got the table selected, you can choose your desired look and feel of the table. Um, I like, I personally like very basic table formatting, so I'll choose something like this. Okay, great. So now that we have our table and we've got it formatted to the way that we like, it's incredibly important to name your table. And so if you click anywhere in your table, you'll see that the ribbon turns to the table design. And this is only available. You can see table design is now no longer a tab that's available above the ribbon. Again, selecting anywhere in your table will bring forth this table design option. And so here we have some options about how our table looks, uh, what style options we may want to select from. We can add a total row or remove a total row. We can remove the header row or add it back in. Do you want them banded or not? Do you want the last column uh, to look a certain way? Do you want the first column? There's just a whole bunch of stuff that you can do here. You can also show and hide the filter buttons. Okay, that's fine. Um, but what's really important here is um, our table name box. And so you always, once you create a table, you always want to name the table. And so we'll call this the sales underscore table. Again, no spaces in names. And so now here I'll click off and then click back in, and you can see sales table. And this is important when elsewhere you go to reference the information in this table. It makes your formulas become extremely readable. And we'll get into that in some of our intermediate videos where we start to do a lot of referencing and messing with tables. But nevertheless, okay, so why is a table beneficial? Well, a table auto expands. And so here we might add something like random data. And immediately what happens is our table formatting is automatically adopted um, to this column, and it extends only down as far as the last row of information. We might say that random data consists of a formula that is equals um, total annual sales times 5. This is just a random calculation. But you can see here instantly the entire column adopts the formula for that column. So for random data, the column that we've written, which is an arbitrary formula, is that it equals total annual sales times 5. Okay, great. And so again, the whole thing's adopted. And if we also added a row, you can see that now everything that contains some degree of formula or what have you is automatically adopted, and all it needs me to enter is the static information. All right, and so maybe just for simplicity's sake and time, I'll just control copy that line and I'll paste formula in here. And maybe this is Sarah's sister, June. But they're twins, and so that's why they have identical sales. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. So again, you can see that everywhere where formulas exist, it's automatically adopted. And this is one of the beautiful things about a table is that it effectively auto resizes for you. So, okay, auto expanding, big plus. When you scroll down, you can see that our header will replace um, the column headers as it approaches. So there, let me see if I can do that more finely. There we go. So here I'll continue to scroll down and you can see that my header always stays visible. No matter where I'm at, the header stays visible. So effectively, it auto freezes the top row, even though it's not the top row of Excel. It is the top row of the table, and so Excel recognizes that that's contains critical information, and so it always keeps it visible. It does have the built-in sort and filter, so of course we can, maybe only look at um, just the sales folks in our northern region or north and south region. But again, that's all inherent to a table. Whereas, again, all this stuff you can do with a static range of information, but you have to select your filter option. You have to format the table. You have to freeze the rows or the columns or what have you. Um, and um, so all that takes time. And again, the thing that separates basic or novice users from expert users is not only understanding formulas and how they behave, but it's achieving, an identical outcome in a far more efficient manner. So can person A and person B um, create a table of information that looks like looks like this? Yeah, 100%. Um, but person A, it might take them 30 minutes, and person B, it might take them 3 minutes. And so you start to get increased value add. And of course, when you stack that across a day or a week or a year, you have two wildly different people as far as skill and ability and the value that they provide to that particular company. Okay, so we got our basic data and we learned how to create the table 3 different ways. Again, the first was selecting the data, and from the Home tab above the ribbon, selecting the Format as Table. The second is selecting the information using the Insert tab and selecting the table icon. And then the third was selecting your information and using Control T to start the table process. In all three scenarios, it's imperative that your information has headers and that you have the option of My Table has headers selected. Okay, so where do we go from here? Well, the first is once we have a table, right? We can create say a chart. And so we'll go ahead and select that information and we'll come up here to the Insert tab above the ribbon and we're going to go over to this section here, charts. And so a few things are possible here. One is that if we know what we're going after, whether it's a column chart or a bar chart or a pie chart or line chart or what have you, you can simply select that option and you can explore the different types available. Right. The other thing is that Excel can, to a fairly decent degree, uh, understand what type of data that you have here, and it can recommend some charts. And unless you've been working with a data set and you know exactly the chart outcome that you want, um, my recommendation is to use recommended charts. Right? And so here, Excel believes that in the majority of situations, that a column chart is the most applicable to our data set. And so here we see that it would organize the information with the vertical axis being the number of sales and the horizontal axis being the region. Okay, well, that works. Um, a stacked area chart basically tries to show everything. Um, and that might actually be useful, contrary to what it looks like at first blush. This simply needs a little bit of filtering to maybe um, make it look more digestible. Here we've got a stacked column in which uh, we see that the vertical axis is sales numbers, and then the horizontal axis is all of our sales members, and then each of these banded sections is a month out of the year. Well, that's not terrible. A funnel chart, I don't think that fits our need. A Pareto chart, that could certainly tell us some information that we can make some educated decisions off of. Um, okay, well, hmm. Well, maybe I don't like any of these. Or maybe it's close to what I'm looking for. And um, you can see in the option here, you've got the switch row to column available, which means once you're in the table, you could flip the information. So um, here, the regions could be the vertical axis, and sales could be the horizontal axis. Nevertheless, maybe nothing here fits what I'm looking for. So even though we're still in recommended charts, from here I can still go to all possible charts. And I can click from one chart type to the next, and maybe one of these will speak to me in a way that, um, oh, that's pretty clever looking, huh? Anyways, maybe one of these will speak to me in a way that allows me to very quickly digest the information. So um, I think probably the best here is in fact column. And so we can select from a clustered column to a stacked column to a 100% stacked column. And then 3D, which is super swanky. And to be honest, in in 13 years of doing this, I don't think I've ever used 3D. Um, it actually provides, uh I don't know if it's the additional dimension, but it's not as digestible. It looks good, but it's not as digestible as just a flat line chart or a flat bar chart or column chart. So mm, I think it's the stacked. The stacked for me, I think that's the one that I would go for. And of course, you have varying degrees of how this information is set up. And I think that's the one right there. The stacked column chart, and it's got um, the months along the bottom, sales vertical, and then all of the colors um, are regions and our people. Okay. So here now we've created our table, and when we select our chart that is based on our table, you can see that what happens is it shows us what's going on, right? And so you can see here it's got this Northwest John Miller. So it's considering this entire three columns to be the category. And then it's recognizing the time frame up above, and then here's the big box of my data. Now I can of course adjust these to only show so much information. All right, we can alter it that way, or we can always come in here into our filter, our chart filters button, and we can add and remove months. We can add or remove categories. Um, we can add or remove just certain columns. Let's do that. Let's make in names, I'm going to select just the region. So it's not necessarily important, say for my purposes, uh, who's doing the sales, because each region has a team of people and they work as a team. And so the region will speak for itself, not necessarily individuals. Okay, apply, done. So here we have our little table, and that's not so bad. And in here, one thing that I will note is that by default, the tables that Excel presents, the writing for the axis, um, and the chart titles and the legend, all that stuff is in a very dark char excuse me, charcoal. And one of the things that I like to do is make it black and I make it bold because I think that that makes it just better. And I don't know if I can say exactly why it's better, but I just think it makes your table appear easier to read. Now, of course, chart title, we can select in here and we can say um, monthly sales by region. Okay, that's great. And the other thing I like to do is I like to really extend my boxes so I'm maximizing the space available uh, in my table. And if at all possible, I want to get this primary chart area to be as large as possible. Yeah. Because ultimately that's really what we're going after. And so then of course there's a few things that you can do once you've got your table. You can hide the information that is supporting your table, or you can leave this sheet as your say data source. Okay. And then we can create a new sheet and we can call this monthly report. And we can simply select our chart. We can control C to copy. And then over here, we can control V. And now we've started to create a monthly report. If we go back to data source, we can select this chart and we can press the delete button to get rid of it. These charts um, are exact copies of each other. So um, if you delete one, it has no impact on the other. So, okay, here, now that we've got a lot more space to work with, maybe we just want to adjust these a little bit. Maybe we want to have our dates a little bit bigger, have our axis numbers a little bit bigger. There we go. And of course, we can always, using this plus button up here, we can always add the data table itself, for example, and we would need to extend this fairly significantly. And if we provided the data table, we would, of course, then want to get rid of our legend here. I don't generally add the data table just simply because it takes up too much room. Axis titles are nice. So here we might want to say sales. And again, you've got that dark charcoal, so we'll want to make it black and bold. And let's give it some size there. This of course, is woo. Undo. See, even after all these years, Excel gets away from me a little bit. I think that's why they put that undo button in there, just for me. sales month. Again, gonna make it black, make it bold, give it some size. Let me check this one. 16. 16. There we go. So here we've got a nice little table going. And again, I got rid of my data table, so I'll scrunch this back up. And so here we might want to um, have this table, and maybe we have another table with different information in it. And then maybe we have another table with even more different information. And when we're creating a report like this, we want to make sure that um, a few things are are done properly. So um, what you want to do is make sure that your chart is aligned to a grid line, and you'll want to make sure that all of your charts are aligned to each other. But then also, you want to make sure that in between charts, you have uniform spacing. And here we'll make this one 15 as well. And so here we have uniform spacing, both vertically and horizontally from chart to chart. It just gives a nice presentation. This one's all kind of honked up with the sales. Oh, mercy. There we go. Maybe a little bit like this. And again, we wouldn't have three of the same chart. We might have a pie chart, and we might have all sorts of different information. And then a few other things that you can do. One is in view. Uh, in view, you've got this show section here just left of center. And you can show or hide the grid lines. And by hiding the grid lines, it gives us just a nice blank white canvas as the background. Yeah, we can get rid of the formula bar. And then when we're all ready to establish our final product of a presentation or a report, we also want to double click our one of our tabs up here. And by doing that, it's going to hide our ribbon. So by hiding the ribbon, and of course we can double click to bring it back, but by hiding our ribbon, we've now allowed our report or our presentation to dominate the screen, basically maximize the real estate that you have for analyzing the information. So that way people aren't having to, uh, like scroll into a particular one and squint and whatever. When you save, if we were to save now, and then send this to somebody, when they open it up, it's going to look just like this. It's going to have everything nicely aligned. And again, this is extremely basic. We may want to throw a nice big header in here about what this report is. And maybe even we want to take all of our background here and maybe do something crazy like make it all black. And so these are the ways that we can take just kind of ugly raw data and make it into a very nice presentation, quickly digestible. uh, and again, it's not necessarily for this video, it's not necessarily about what's in this chart here. um, what I'm getting at is how to convert your information into a table, and then how to use that table's information and start getting it into a report or a dashboard or presentation. So I hope you found this video useful. We're going to get into reports and dashboards much more thoroughly. Here in the next couple videos, we're going to start talking about slicers and making things interactive. I think you're really going to enjoy that. But if you found this video helpful, or you know somebody who could benefit from a video like this, please, I appreciate if you forward my video on or forward my channel on. And we'll see you in the next one.